The man with Gaddafi's golden gun, today on The World. In the chaos of the Libyan revolution, this reporter caught a glimpse of a man with a gun.
He was wearing a blue T-shirt with the word love in it, in a big heart shape in red, and a New York Yankees baseball cap. And he was being held up on the shoulders of his comrades, and he was waving this golden pistol.
Muammar Gaddafi's famous golden pistol. We find out what happened to it. Plus, editing the human genome could help fight disease, but
it's also become very controversial because, as you can imagine, editing human embryos or anything to do with reproductive science always raises eyebrows.
And Luxembourg wants to mine asteroids for resources. Really?
Luxembourg is actually a pioneer in commercial space development.
Alrighty then, that's all ahead on The World. Glad you could be here. The more we learn about the Zika virus, the more we understand it's a global thing, not restricted to any one place. Just ask Texas. Health officials there have confirmed the first documented case in the U.S. of Zika transmission from one person to another. It happened in the Dallas area, and scientists believe the patient became infected with Zika through sex with a partner who'd recently returned to the U.S. from Venezuela.
The real question is it a game changer? Are we going to suddenly see the virus changing its behavior and start to spread by the sexual route?
That's Jonathan Ball. He's a professor of molecular virology at Nottingham University in England, and he doesn't think the case in Texas is a game changer, and he doesn't expect sex to become a predominant way for the virus to spread.
There's nothing to suggest that that's going to happen. This is a virus which is primarily spread by mosquitoes, particularly the Aedes mosquito. And so the thousands, if not millions, of infections that we're seeing in Central and Southern Americas and parts of the Caribbean is purely down to mosquitoes biting an infected individual, carrying the virus, replicating it themselves, in fact, and then passing it on to somebody else.
Yeah, something you just said intrigued me, that the virus might change its behavior. Is it the virus that's actually changing its behavior, or is it the way humans interact that then affects the way the virus reacts?
Obviously, virologists are always keen and always interested to know whether viruses change and whether they mutate. Personally, I don't think that's what we're seeing here with Zika. We've seen a virus that's been living for probably tens of thousands of years in Africa and in Asia. And it's been well sort of embedded within the populations that live there. And those people are constantly exposed to the virus and they get immune to it. And therefore, they carry that immunity through life. And so you don't see these problems that we're seeing with Zika virus now, where it's essentially been introduced into a naive population. They haven't got any existing immunity in Southern America. They've never seen the virus before. And so it's easily spread from one person to another. Because we lead very different lives these days. We have global markets, we ship things from one end of the world to the other, and we all like to jump on a plane and travel to far-off tropical climes for holidays and things like that. And so this is perfect for viruses and their spread.
How common do you think this case in Texas is going to turn out to be, or do you feel it's just going to be a one-off?
It won't be a one-off because we're seeing so many infections at the moment, but I think it will remain a very rare event, and most of the infections that we see will be down to mosquitoes passing the virus from person to person.
A rare event in that this case was spread through sexual means, right?
That's right, a rare event that it's sexually transmitted. But what it does mean, though, is that people have to be a little bit more aware. So the advice was for pregnant women to try and avoid travel to the worst affected areas. The advice is still don't go there, but of course if you have a partner who goes to one of those areas, they could potentially be coming back with that virus, and therefore there is a risk that they could then transmit that virus to you through sex. And that's why we've started to see advice where partners of pregnant women, if they have been to one of the affected areas, they're advised to not have unprotected sex. They're advised to wear a condom, and that's for 6 weeks after their return, and if they've shown any symptoms, for 6 months. And that's just to try and stop the risk of transmission through the sexual route to the most vulnerable people, and that's pregnant women.
Jonathan Ball, a professor of molecular virology at Nottingham University in England. Here's something else scientists are trying to figure out about Zika, how to develop a vaccine. That's something Brazil is very interested in. It's the country with the most Zika cases so far. But a vaccine's going to take time, and Brazil also has short-term worries. Rio de Janeiro